Hi, this is Joe here with another review, and to continue with my Wrestlemania review series, I'm going to be discussing Wrestlemania 6, which took place in the Sky Dome in Toronto, Canada, which has now been renamed a couple years ago as the Rogers Center. Of course, this Wrestlemania has the distinction of being the first WrestleMania that took place outside the United States and in Canada. And Canada has been, over the years, especially during the 80s, a very big market for the WWF at the time. Because they used to sell out cars in the old Maple Leaf Gardens and Montreal and various cities in Canada. As a matter of fact, they had the very first Royal Rumble in Canada. So it's a big deal to have a WrestleMania in a new facility, which was less than a year old, which was the Sky Dome. It was opened, I think, like in June of 1989. This is like April 1990. But the premise, of course, for this WrestleMania, or the main event, was the Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan for a champion versus champion match, which each title was on the line. Because Hogan was still the heavyweight champion at the time, in his second title run. And the Ultimate Warrior regained, I think at SummerSlam, SummerSlam 89, regained his IC title from Rick Rude in SummerSlam 89. So, and these were still the two hottest guys in the WWF. And I know I'm mostly focused on the main event right now. But they did have other matches of note. But the main event itself, this was the first time, really ever, Hulk Hogan, at least when Hulk Hogan was known as the Hulk Hogan, when he actually lost a match legit. And this was really the first WrestleMania match, really, that he actually lost legit. I know in WrestleMania 4, when I talk about WrestleMania 4, he lost a total disqualification rematch with Andre the Giant in the second round of the heavyweight tournament. But that was a bullshit thing to get DiBiase put into the tournament, and to have Randy Savage win, and so Hogan would be make sure that Hogan would be the champion. This time he lost, so that the Ultimate Warrior could get over and be the heavyweight champ for a while. But this was the first time we had a legit loss for Hogan in the WrestleMania. When he's in the main event, and to me at this point, WrestleMania 6, and of course by the next year, WrestleMania 7, you do get tired of Hogan being in the main event in the WrestleMania. Because I had the opinion of, okay, he's the heavyweight champ. It makes sense to have the heavyweight championship as the last, match of the night. But can it be anybody but Hogan to be the heavyweight champ? I mean, I was tired, and by 1990, I was tired of seeing Hogan not only as the champ, but always wrestling the main event and being in the WrestleMania main event. And when he lost, I think most of the crowd in the Sky Dome, even though the crowd was pretty much even split, was cheering for both guys really to win. Because both of them were baby faces. And those of you who don't know wrestling all that much, baby faces is a guy who the fans root for, who always fights clean, or wrestles clean, always has a clean match, and the fans get behind. A heel is the opposite. Where a wrestler breaks all the rules, fights dirty, or has a manager always interfering. Well, in those days, it was when wrestlers had referees, when wrestlers had managers, and the managers would distract the referee, and another wrestler would come in and hit the wrestler over the head with a cane or a chair or some other weapon, and knocks the other guy out and wins dirty. But in this case, the main event with Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, I was not really a big fan of the Ultimate Warrior. Pretty much for most of his time in the WWF, he was a a baby face, and he always won a lot. The only time he really lost was the WrestleMania match he had the year before with Rick Rude. But most of the time he won a lot. There's a lot of his power moves, the gorilla press and the flying tackles and clotheslines and stuff like that. He didn't really do all that many actually wrestling holds, and Hogan was almost the same way. In terms of, he doesn't use all that many basic wrestling holds like a suplex or any types of real moves, or like a chin lock or a headlock or moves from, jump off the top rope and do a flying tackle, or do a big splash on the top rope, stuff like that. He didn't really do a whole lot either. So like really two guys who had pretty much the same type of moves. And when Hogan used his big leg drop on the Ultimate Warrior, the Ultimate Warrior actually kicked out of it, which was the first time we ever saw a guy kick out of Hogan's famous finishing move. Especially when Hogan used to do that the face of it with eyes would bug out and stuff like that. Hulk up, and body slam the guy, throw a couple of punches, body slam the guy, and come off the rope with the leg drop and pin him. He did do that in this match, and the Ultimate Warrior kicked out of it, and I was shocked as anybody that he did that. And then seconds later, Ultimate Warrior did a big flying tackle on him on a monkey gorilla slam, and pins Hogan within about 30 seconds, and won. And that match this was definitely the longest WrestleMania match at that time, because most WrestleMania matches took maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes tops at most. This match took almost a full half hour. About between 25, I think it was like between 25 and 30 minutes. It was a long time for it was a long time for a WrestleMania match. The only match that broke that record was the 60-minute match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. I think it was like WrestleMania 12, I think it was. Which I don't think we're going to get to WrestleMania 12. I think we're going to start doing WrestleMania reviews I think after maybe 10 or 11. Because it's getting tedious already. But other matches of note that happened at WrestleMania 6 was actually the very first match, which was unfortunately Andre the Giant's last WrestleMania match, because he would die like 3 years later. He died like in December 1993. So this was the last, unfortunately, the last wrestling match, last WrestleMania match that Andre the Giant had. And that was the first time he was a legit champion. He was a tag team champ with Haku, and they were built as a Colossal Connection, and they lost the tag team belts to Demolition. I think this was also the first time he had the tag team belts as the opening match at WrestleMania. And after the match, Bobby Heenan got mad because Andre his body was starting to break down because of his gigantism. And so he didn't do a whole lot in that match, because Haku did all the in-ring work. And so Bobby Heenan got mad at Andre and costing him the match and stuff like that. And Andre just slapped Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan was not slapping Andre around, and Andre slapped him back, and that made Andre, after being 3 years as a heel, before he passed away, made him into a baby face for the last 3 years of his life, or the next 3 years of his life, which was his last, unfortunately. Because I think even when Andre was a heel, people kind of like Andre. Even though he had all that stuff with Hogan, like with the match when he was fighting Hogan all the time, but those matches were damn good matches. And of course, when he had his rivalry with Andre the Giant, with Jake the Snake for a while, and also as well as first Hacksaw Jim Duggan after the rivalry with Hogan, and then Jake the Snake Roberts, and now he this bit, and of course in WrestleMania 6. Because the other match that stuck out in my mind more than in WrestleMania 6 was the fact that you had, well, nowadays this particular match, or what Roddy Piper did in this particular match, was done today in 2015 instead of 1990. 25 years ago. Maybe 25 years ago, you really couldn't get away with it even then. Now you definitely couldn't get away with it. And that was with, excuse me, my stupid sinuses. Nowadays in 2015, especially after the Ferguson with Michael Brown was killed by police, justifiably, I might add. Michael Brown's death was justified. I don't give a shit what Al Sharpton says. Anyway, Roddy Piper couldn't get away with this, and that was he had a rivalry with Bad News Brown. I think it started with the Royal Rumble actually, when they eliminate Roddy Piper, when Bad News Brown eliminated Roddy Piper, and they pretty much eliminated each other in that match, and they went all the way back to the ring, back to the locker room area. Same thing happened this time, WrestleMania. And what Roddy Piper did was he painted himself half black and half of him white. And like I said, nowadays you ain't going to get away with that stuff. But fortunately, they let this thing go. And of course, Hogan, like was a double counter. And then of course he had the match with that's went into pretty much good detail with the Hogan Warrior match. And I thought that was one of the best matches that Hogan had in WrestleMania. He did have, I think, with all the WrestleMania matches that Hogan has had, three of them I would consider to be the best. Only three of the matches I actually liked. That was, of course, the Hulk Andre match in WrestleMania 3, the Hulk Savage match the year before WrestleMania 5, and of course this one, the Warrior. Now the next year you had, of course, with Slaughter, which we're going to get to next video, with WrestleMania 7, and of course 8 was lousy, 9 was a lousy match, and of course the match that you had with The Rock was good. And then the last WrestleMania match was the thing he had with Vince McMahon, which was, of course, yeah, and I don't want to get into those matches. That's a bad those matches because Hogan was past his prime. But I thought this was one of his better matches that he had. Thanks for watching my review for WrestleMania 6. Excuse me. Please click on the video. Please rate it. Please subscribe to my channel. Please follow this video onto your Facebook pages. And also you can catch my older videos on rallyc.com. Plus also on my YouTube channel as well. So you can go both those places and you can check out my older videos. Thanks for watching and catch you next time.